What is going on, guys? The Inside New York Sports Podcast, and today we're talking about the New York Yankees today, the offseason plan, and the winter meetings is obviously ramping up, obviously, in the upcoming days, upcoming weeks. A lot of stuff is ready to happen. We're going to see a lot of free agents probably signing soon, at least, obviously, in the month of December, but don't forget, before we get into this video, leave a comment on who you want the Yankees to sign, maybe your offseason plan, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. But obviously, we're talking about the Yankees, and a lot needs to happen, right? They get eliminated in the ALDS from the Toronto Blue Jays, and the Toronto Blue Jays are a team that is not afraid to improve their team this offseason. They hosted Kyle Tucker in their offseason facility already, so they're trying to make a big-time move, a big-time splash, and have Kyle Tucker reunite with George Springer, and then, obviously, he's joining a team with potentially Bo Bichette back and obviously Vladimir Guerrero Jr. But, the Blue Jays are probably the biggest team that I'm looking at this offseason in terms of the AL East. I don't expect the Rays to do anything. Don't expect Baltimore to make, a big-time move. And Boston is the second team that is really, going to potentially make a bigger move. They obviously they traded for Sonny Gray to try to improve their starting rotation. The Blue Jays signed Dylan Cease. Those have been really the big-time moves so far. And the Baltimore Orioles trading away Grayson Rodriguez. Tampa Bay, I'm not really worried about any of those other teams. It's really Boston and Toronto. How are the Yankees going to attack this offseason? The big talk right now is Cody Bellinger. Is he going to come back? Is he not? And the way that I stand on him, I guess we'll start with Cody Bellinger since I mentioned him first. The problem with Cody Bellinger, in my opinion, that's going to be the problem with this contract, is the term. I think the Yankees can definitely get him probably in the $30 million range, $35 million range for Cody Bellinger. It's just the term. Big thing that I'm worried about, especially because the Scott Boras client, is if Cody Bellinger wants 7 to 8 years, which would take him to, I believe, his age 38 season, because I believe he's 30 years old now, but you guys can fact check me on that. I don't think Brian Cashman and Hal Steinbrenner in the front office want to go into any of those deep waters for a contract of 7 to 8 years for Cody Bellinger. The front office knows that he loved his Yankee tenure. He loved being a Yankee. His dad played for the Yankees, so maybe he wants to continue that legacy. But if there's something that I have seen is that money can really, really turn someone no matter what, their story is. And I'm not saying the Yankees aren't going to re-sign Cody Bellinger, but I do think there is a world that we might not see Cody Bellinger back with the New York Yankees, and I think that is something that Yankee fans would be very upset with because they already lost Soto to the Mets last year, and now there's a chance that Cody Bellinger might sign with one of the few teams, in my opinion, which is the Mets, Dodgers, and obviously back to the New York Yankees. I don't really see a sleeper team out there right now, at least from what I've seen on Twitter or Jeff Passan and all of those big name reporters that Bellinger might go here. Maybe Philadelphia, maybe we could see that, but I'm not sure with that. So the thing is, I do want Cody Bellinger back, but I do want him for the right price. I've been very in between because the last time he was in a contract year, the following year, it was not a good season for Cody Bellinger. And I know the big talk is Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker is the big talk for the New York Yankees. He is a fit. He would obviously fit right in for right field because I can't see him playing left field for the Yankees. He's a great player, man. Kyle Tucker, he's younger. He's 28 years old, I believe. I think he's better than Cody Bellinger, but that also comes with a bigger time price. He's probably going to get $400 million on the open market. I don't expect the Cubs to entertain those waters, and Kyle Tucker is a special player, obviously. The defense is not as good as Cody Bellinger, but I still love the bat. I think he would be a great player, whether he's batting in front of Judge or right behind him. But it's really if the Yankees really want to spend $400 million on an outfielder. They already have a lot of big contracts on their team, obviously, right? With Stanton, Cole, Judge, Fried, and Rodon. So it's going to be interesting how they fit that in. But obviously, I am a big advocate for Kyle Tucker. But my percentage of the Yankees getting him, I'd say maybe 15%, maybe 20%. I don't think he's going to come here. I do think he's a Dodger or a Blue Jay. And listen, man, I tell you what, if he does go to the Blue Jays, that probably makes them maybe the AL East favorite. I don't know if people would disagree or agree with me, but with how the Blue Jays are building their team, it's a pretty solid team. I mean, the Blue Jays starting rotation, I think, improved, even though I know a lot of people are definitely not a Dylan Cease fan. I don't mind him. I really don't. I think he has good underlying numbers. Obviously, the ERA last year was pretty high, and he allowed a lot of hard-hit contact, I believe. It was something like that. It was either that or he was allowing a lot of walks, something like that. But there's still a big threat to the Yankees this offseason, and the Blue Jays. I keep mentioning the Dodgers, but the Blue Jays are definitely probably the Yankees' biggest threat because I don't see the Blue Jays making any more big-time pitching moves. So that eliminates Tetsuya Amai, who I want the Yankees to get as well. I know a lot of Yankee fans are like, we don't need any more starting pitching. We've already spent a lot of starting pitching. That's all Brian Cashman does, is spend on the starting pitching. I understand that. But you also have to realize who's injured for this team right now, and the Yankees cannot rely on Cam Schlittler, Will Warren, and Luis Gil to take him to the promised land respectfully and put him in a good spot before those guys come back. Tetsuya Amai, I think, is definitely the best Japanese pitcher on the open market. He has a lot of motivation to go to a playoff contending team, and he checks all the boxes, I think, for the Yankees, and that's why the Yankees should consider signing him. I think he's a good player. He's got great fastball. He's got great command. And seeing him in pinstripes would be awesome. I think the Yankees have to really start pivoting to more Japanese-type players, and I think he's a great fit for the New York Yankees. And it's really if Brian Cashman and Hal Steinbrenner want to go that route and they want to spend more dollars on starting pitching, because they definitely have been one of the top teams that have invested a lot of money in starting pitching. And they haven't really learned. The Yankees, the way they lose is they can't score, and that's the biggest component in the sport of baseball is scoring runs and scoring more than the other team. And they have to change their philosophy of how they do play the game. And that does come to one of my trade options is trading for Stephen Kwan. I know it's maybe not a move that people love because he had more of a down season, low OPS. But it's really the contact and the fielding. He's a very solid fielder. You put him in left field, and that's what the Yankees need. They need better defense in the outfield. Left field is not an easy position to play, and the Yankees just need more contact. I don't need Stephen Kwan to give me 25-plus home runs from left field. I need, maybe 10, and just to get on base. He'd be your leadoff hitter most likely, and, I think it'd be a solid move. Now, the trade packages, you probably could say goodbye to Spencer Jones, to be honest. And I don't see Brian Cashman keeping Spencer Jones. I feel like that's another reason why they may have not brought him up despite a crowded outfield. Because you could probably make a case he may have been able to play for the team in the playoffs, but I couldn't see that happening, to be totally honest, because you got Bellinger, Grisham, and Judge all in the outfield, and Stanton's your DH. So, that was not a likely move. Maybe they keep him down for trade value purposes, but I do not expect Spencer Jones / Jason Dominguez to be on the opening day roster because I think they can do something with those players. Now, I don't want the Martian traded. I said that I would love to see him start this year, and they don't bring back Trent Grisham, but obviously they do bring back Trent Grisham on a one-year qualifying offer, paying him $22 million. It's definitely their worst move already. I like Grisham. I think he's fun. I think he had a great season last year, but We also have to look at ourselves in the mirror, and he's not hitting 30 home runs again. He's not giving us probably the season he did again. I could see probably as high as a drop off of maybe 18, 20 home runs this year, and that's good. I still think that's a productive Trent Grisham season, but I think a lot of people are worried about this contract because it's kind of trying to think of the word, but maybe like this contract might have them to pivot to something else, and that's why some Yankee fans do believe that maybe this is the problem because they might not be able to sign Cody Bellinger because of Trent Grisham, but I don't believe that. And I don't believe that one bit because the Yankees' payroll is going to be over $300 million. John Heyman said it. All of the reporters know that they have to spend in order to win, and they have the luxury to do it. It's not like they can't. It's just they kind of refuse, and if they do spend, they think that let's sign a starting pitcher to a max mega contract, and let's hope Aaron Judge alone can carry us to the World Series. That doesn't happen. When Aaron Judge has help and you give him a superstar together, we saw what had happened with Juan Soto, and I don't mind mentioning Juan Soto because it's the truth. I mean, Juan Soto was a phenomenal player, still is. I know a lot of Yankee fans are probably going to give me heat for that, but he still is a phenomenal player. He still had a good season for the New York Mets despite a crazy bad start. But that's another reason why you could probably potentially go out and get a Kyle Tucker for your team because he is the guy that can help Aaron Judge win games. I mean, Kyle Tucker does it all except for fielding. I mean, I think his outs above average was -2, something like that. But he's still a phenomenal player. It's just if the Yankees are going to spend all that money on one player. I wouldn't hate it. I really wouldn't. I think my top 3 guys that I probably would love for the Yankees to get is definitely Kyle Tucker / Cody Bellinger. That's one alone because they're kind of on a similar level of who I want back. Number 2 is obviously Tatsuya Amai. He's a phenomenal pitcher. He does everything good, and he could help out the Yankees in a big way. And, I mean, maybe we don't rule out a trade that the Yankees trade one of their starting pitchers this offseason. I know there's been a lot of talk about Sandy Alcantara. I think his name is Eduardo Sanchez for the Marlins as well, I think his name is. Or they sign Michael King in the offseason. There's been a lot of noise for that as well for a potential reunion. And then I guess what they would do maybe is once Cole gets back, Rodon gets back, they move King to the bullpen, but I don't scratch that. I don't see that. I could see Michael King being a full-time starter for us back with the team. But, there's a lot of moving pieces, right? Obviously checking Twitter right now. It's going to be, it's going to be interesting, right? I'm excited for the offseason. A little bit of nervousness, obviously, because I don't know what is on Brian Cashman's plan. But I do see Cody Bellinger being at the top of that. They set it to main priority, and if they don't get Cody Bellinger, then they're pivoting to Kyle Tucker. I don't really see how that makes much sense because, the money gap between those two players and what Cody Bellinger is going to get compared to Kyle Tucker. And for all we know, don't want to be negative Nancy at all, but for all we know, Cody Bellinger could completely say no to the Yankees, sign with the Dodgers, and then before you know it, they try to pivot to Kyle Tucker, and then Kyle Tucker's a Blue Jay. That's probably worst case scenario for the New York Yankees. But hey, this is a team that I still believe can win the AL East, can be a very competitive team for this upcoming season in 2026. Because the way that I view it, outside of the Blue Jays, what team really strikes you with fear? Boston? Okay, that's 2 divisional teams. Take your division out of the equation. What team in the AL West scares you? I don't see any team, right? Angels, Mariners, maybe the Mariners because they're starting pitching. Texas, no. Texas might unload. I mean, they just traded for Brandon Nimmo, but maybe the Yankees decided to go and get Corey Seager. I don't know. Would I love the move? Maybe not, because he's had a bit of an injury history with his hamstring and all that. Astros, no. What about the Central, right? Guardians, you've always had the AL Central's number, so it's like the Yankees have no excuse to be a good team next year, win the AL East, and compete for a World Series if they do the right moves. If they do the right moves this upcoming season, upcoming free agency. It starts with Brian Cashman. It's going to be interesting. I know people might want to trade Jazz Chisholm. I don't mind Jazz Chisholm. I know he's got a bit of an ego, and maybe you could say he's a bit of a hothead, but listen, man, he's a competitor. He just gave you a phenomenal season last year. He's a good player. And to be totally honest, the only player I'm probably trading Jazz Chisholm for to get solid value is calling up the Arizona Diamondbacks and trading him for Ketel Marte. That is really the only way I'm trading Jazz Chisholm, and I don't see the Diamondbacks entertaining that. Other free agents that some of my Yankee guys have asked me about, Pete Alonso. I can't see that as a potential fit, to be totally honest, even though he's a solid player coming off a phenomenal year. Ben Rice is your first baseman. I feel like sometimes Yankee fans kind of undervalue Ben Rice. I get the defense at first isn't always perfect, but you got to realize this is a very upcoming, young, don't have to pay a big buck for, can hit the ball extremely hard, had a great season last year. And you might call me crazy, but I'd rather have Ben Rice on a smaller deal, don't have to worry about a long-term contract and potential regression, than pick up Pete Alonso for, I think his projected offer is 4 years, $112 million. Maybe it gets to $30 million a year and it's $120 million a year. So it's interesting. Obviously, this has been more of a longer video. But this is it's a big topic, man, because I know Yankee fans are concerned. Vin, who are we gonna sign? I think ultimately, hopefully you guys are still sticking around for the end of the video, so you do hear who I ultimately think we're gonna sign. I think we're gonna sign Cody Bellinger, and I do believe we're gonna get a starting pitcher. I don't know who it's going to be. I don't want to say names out there. But I'll say it's probably one of Michael King, Tatsuya Mai, or just a depth starter at number 5. That is who I think is probably going to be the move. Bullpen is another story, obviously. Devin Williams moving to the Mets. So maybe they go and get a trade. I wouldn't mind like a Jojo Romero or sign somebody. But, yeah, I mean, that's going to do it for this free agent window meetings preview of the Yankees, man. It's going to be exciting. I know the hot stove didn't really give you much from Jack Curry. Don't panic. I fully believe the Yankees are going to be a good team next year and a contender for the World Series. Anyways, guys, that is it. I'm your host, Vin, of the Inside New York Sports Podcast, and that is going to do it. Leave a like, subscribe, and let's hope the Yankees make some big-time plays. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.